So that was Maury head basketball coach Brandon Plummer with me, Matt Hatfield, after the team's state championship triumph over Freedom of South Riding, 57-49 on Wednesday at the Siegel Center. It's High School Sports Talk presented by VirginiaPreps.com on ESPN Radio 94.1 with the coach Ed Young. Ed, you got to see this Maury team up close and personal. You saw them in the regionals against Hampton, who they eliminated in the quarterfinals with no trouble whatsoever. Eric Brown's teams are always well coached and prepared, and they made short work of them in that first game over there at Maury High in Norfolk, 64-41. Then the scope, 52-51. And we could probably now go into my referee rant here a little bit, somewhat of it. You know, they had a tough game with Norview, and a lot of people said they're going to blow out Norview the same way. If you get two teams with familiarity like that in Norfolk, it's not easy to blow them out. So it's nothing that people should be, ashamed of if you're Maury. That's a hard game to win, and they won it late, coming from behind. Clarence Rupert with the basket, or two free throws, I should say. Dicey foul call at the end. They advanced, though. You survive and advance, and they survived. And then they got to Green Run on the championship game, and they were feeling that one. They were not the 1 seed Green Run was. They beat them 53-46. State playoffs, they get to see LC Bird, and they heard all year about Bird Verona. Defense showed up to beat Verona 50-42, and then the offense really erupted against Verona 74-61. A Verona team that was pretty much holding people under 50. We had alluded to that stat with Green Run, who played Verona in the state quarters. Green Run, I think, is like 48-0 since 2012 when they scored 70 or more, and Verona kept them under that to 62. And Maury got to 70-plus and did it with relative ease that night in what, to me, was the state championship game.
Yeah, I happened to watch that game. Obviously, in preparing in the regional playoffs, we had to have some film work on Maury because they were a possible opponent. So I did kind of get a chance to study them up close. And the thing about Maury is any of the five guys they put on the floor can hurt you. When they played Verona in attendance, and I thought, okay, I'm watching the state championship game. So many people around me said the same thing. Hey, coach, whoever wins this, what do you think? I said, well, I'm like everybody else. I think who wins this wins the state title. But it's going to be a battle because they're very good teams. Going to take a little bit out of whoever wins this. But Verona didn't play one of their better games, and Maury pretty much kept them at bay throughout the game. Even when Verona made their comebacks, I didn't sit there and think, oh, boy, Maury in trouble. I really thought the buffer zone was still there. Their kids didn't get rattled. That's a good thing about them. And I have to have a side note with Coach Plummer. Here's a guy that comes in, a youngster, very familiar with Eastern District Norfolk basketball, played at Booker T. Mm-hmm. Coached under one of the better ones around, Darren Sandelman, learned a lot of stuff. Then he gets under the legend, Jack Baker. So many years at Maury, over 700 wins. And then everybody says, boy, when Baker hangs it up, I wouldn't want to be the guy to replace him because, you're going to be in trouble. He handled it perfectly. His fingerprints were on that team immediately. He didn't just throw all Coach Baker's stuff out the window, but he easily, strategically put his stuff into there. His fingerprints were all over that. And to win a state title that quick in 2 years, going from the one chair up to be your head coach of a very strong program, replacing a legend, he did it, I just think, with ease. He'll probably say, y'all didn't live in my skin. It's not that easy. There was a lot to it. And I mean, not so much that he didn't have to do anything. He put in work. And this is not going to be his only state championship, but he just did a tremendous job with this team.
Well, and he kind of alluded to it. I asked him, when did you kind of know this team could do it and things of that nature throughout this journey and not just after the game. And there was some doubt. And that doubt had to have been there when last year, as the number 1 seed, on a Monday night to open regional basketball tournament playoff play, they go in to take on a Salem team that was 10-12, and they lost that game. Jonathan Norfleet, who's now at Wagner, and, of course, Ray Ward in the backcourt with him. That was a game where they were leading in the fourth quarter, got up 6-8 in that, and then Salem came back, and they lose it. Free throws hurt them. Free throws did not end up costing them in the game at all in the championship against Freedom or against Verona. Remember, Chase Coleman was 9 of 12 in the fourth quarter, but they also had that, to me, the defining moment, turning point was, and I'm sure we'll hopefully try to get Coach Plummer and a couple of his guys in the studio later on here on High School Sports Talk, presented by VirginiaPreps.com. That Granby game, when you lose a 21-point fourth quarter lead, you've been there, you've been on the side of both of these type of things, win them or lose them. That can pull a team apart, and it didn't.
Gives you doubt, makes you wonder, scares you for the next time. This is when you blow the big leads, especially late.
People were wondering that when Verona was starting to make that comeback. They were down 16-17 and they got to 6 or 8, and Maury, they didn't blink. They didn't panic.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Now, they kept their composure, and I felt as a coach, and a lot of times when I'm watching a game, I try to put myself in both those coaches' shoes as to what I would do, what I would feel. I didn't feel Maury was a little in doubt, scared, rushing things. They kept attacking. They kept playing their defense. And it seemed to me that for Verona to take a lead, they'd have to go like on a 14-0 run or something. And, of course, that wasn't going to happen. Maury was not in that type of mind frame. It just wasn't going to happen. They kept their composure greatly. And now it was in Norfolk. They had the crowd advantage. It was loud. It was everything that you want for a game. And they just soaked it up.
It's a great time to be a Maury Commodore alum or fan. Think about what they've done in the last year or so. Football regional champs under Jeree McCain. Sheridan Jones is going on to Clemson, but they bring back Keandre Lambert, Ty Granger, Deshaun Peel. A lot of talent and wide receivers for Jeree McCain. Another young coach doing a fine job. Their cross-country team, regional champs. Their swimming team, regional champs. Their girls indoor track team, regional champs. Their girls indoor track, also state runner-up. The boys basketball gets a regional and state title. They're starting to, in some ways, as the kids would say, hey, we run a 7-5-7.
Well, they can at least say they run Norfolk, but be careful. Lake Taylor has the championship last year.
They do.
Of course, Norview, Granby, and Booker T are trying to get it back together. But Maury, this is a year for their school.
Well, and their tennis, baseball, and golf programs have been very good for many years. Coach Baker's coached golf there. They've got good athletic programs. They're a lot to be proud of. And keeping athletic director Ed Boyd rather busy as they've got to get some championships and a lot of celebrations there for Maury. They're getting a lot of titles and well-deserved for them. A lot of hard work put in from the summer league to now. And Coach Plummer, I'm with you, Ed. Going back to, you saw him, we talked about it with him on the show last week. They got that state championship, Booker T, when he was a player, and then 13 years later, here he is as the coach of the Commodores, doing great things with them. It's High School Sports Talk, presented by VirginiaPreps.com with the coach, Ed Young. I am Matt Hatfield, and looking ahead to next year, Maury's going to have to replace several of these guys. Rupert is back inside, and he gave him, 18 and 12?
Yeah, 18 and 12. That's a good centerpiece to start with, but they're losing Phillips, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Coleman's gone.
By the way, is he being slept on recruiting-wise? We had an interview with him on the 757 at 6. He mentioned Columbia, some light to moderate interest from Old Dominion, Norfolk State. He is small, but that guy's got a heart, and he's a leader, and he's savvy. And we know about older brother at Texas and Matt Cliff. His father has been a college coach. He's got the brains, and I think he's got the heart and the toughness. He's a little fellow, but I think there's more Division I, and whether it's whatever level, the school should be looking at him recruiting, don't you think?
Division II and III should be all over him. Division I, it's so much. They put so much stock on size. Actually, all three levels. They put so much stock on size and the look. And if you don't fit the look, they're a little apprehensive. Unless they've seen you from start to finish and you've sold a college coach by then. These guys do some great things, but they're undersized and it hurts the recruiting.
Well, it's the same thing that Kendall Bynum was finding at Western Branch. He's another great guard that you feel like should have more looks, Division I or II. And if a Division III gets him, that's the steal of the year, you think. And you thought that a little bit with Ashton Moore, who played for you at Nans, whenever didn't get a lot of Division I stints until the Citadel came in at the end, and much like they were, and I think VMI was, in landing Austin Keenan from First Colonial, they were pleased that they took a chance on a smaller guard.
Yeah, and my example, I could simply say he had a nice career at Citadel, and from there he springboarded over to Germany and played a couple years pro ball. So here's a kid who hardly gets recruited. He's in the top 10 in a lot of the statistics at Citadel, and then he gets to play pro ball.
And Coleman could have a similar outcome. We don't know that he'll go to that school or what happened, but he could have. It wouldn't surprise you or me, I think we could say.
No, he's got good bloodlines behind his brother, who's over there at Texas. He's a PG. He's a leader. He's going to find a way. And I got to coach college ball 6 years, assistant 2 years at Division I level, head coach at a small level. And yes, I agree. I get stuck on size too, but I like the size of the kid's heart. How hard is he going to play? Now, the problem with that is, at the Division I level, you bring a hard-nosed point guard in at 5'9", okay, but he's going to be playing very talented point guards, 6'1", 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", and good. So that's where schools are worried. But you're not playing every team with a 6'5" NBA stud. You're going to play some schools where he's going to fit. Plus, a lot of these kids' mentality is once they get there, they make the adjustments, they can fit in very well and can end up all conference play. We're talking about guys not getting the look. I'm mad at my own situation. I got Jeremiah Lewis, a 2-year double straight guy, all city, all region, all district, 4.0 student. And I can't beg a Division III to give him a hard look. A Division III.
And the reason is what? He's about a 6'2".
Yeah, if I could stretch him out to 6'3", he does a great job inside rebounds. But he can hit the 12, 13-footer. You're not going to tell me by his sophomore year he can't be a factor for school. Junior and senior, he's a starter. It says so many times these coaches put so much stock on the eye test, and I think they're wrong.
True, and I think we'll see Phillips and Menzia both play at the next level. They're seniors, too. We'll see where they end up going out. Keyshawn Tonsel went from a backup to a starter come playoff time. Remember, he was the backup, and Corey Hollis was starting, so he'll be back with Rupert Assad. A lot to replace, and as you've seen, and we've both seen over the years, Class 5 is so difficult. It's nothing against Maury. They can go from winning to a state championship to being done in the first round just because of the competitive nature of our region in Region 5A down here.
Yeah, and, you've got to – some teams like to reload, Princess Anne, girls, Lake Taylor girls. Other teams just got to rebuild. Sometimes you've got to take those youngsters that – Maury only played about 7, 8 guys all year. So now they got to go get those other kids that are on that team. They've got to improve in the offseason. They'll go through these leagues, spring league, summer league, fall league, try to get a little bit better. Skill level's got to get better. And then you got to bring in some JVs. You got to see how it all mixes. And then you need a lot of luck on your side. To win a state title, yes, you got to be good, but you need a lot of luck, a lot of things going your way. Then you have to see if that can repeat itself. But the one thing you are responsible for is to get better. You got to get your team better. The individuals got to get better. They got to work at the basic stuff, the fundamental stuff. It's not worried about running around playing all this AU basketball, running around just playing pickup games. You've got to work on individual skills and then be able to take that step up, whether it be from also ran to a leader. You're going to have to be ready.
How do you think some of the past Maury players, and this is not meant in any negative way towards Maury now because they accomplished quite a bit and earned this championship. It's just the system we have, that Joe Smith and Cornell Park and some of those teams and Jamal Ferguson, Sim Frazier, some of those teams, some of the teams.
Dave Johnson.
David Johnson, that played for Coach Baker and some teams that they didn't get a championship because it was then only 3 divisions, and they see this team where they probably thinking, old heads thinking, man, we could have beat this team, and they didn't get that chance.
Yeah, you get a lot of that, but this is a time where you don't do that. You feel good for the youngsters. Your alumnus, your school won a title, and you were a part of that, even though it was yesteryear. That's your school. You have to feel good about that. And the kids that are now have to be respectful of the past and tradition because Maury has a ton of it, a lot of tradition in the past. And you're right, they ran into some roadblocks that maybe the current team didn't. But the current team did some things that the past Maury teams didn't. They got through it in some manner. You can argue till you fall over about, well, it was easier now, it was harder before, it's just as hard now. And just relish in the fact that they won one. And this is why I say about Coach Plummer, Coach Baker, before anybody starts throwing it out there, Coach Baker, they're a long time, everybody says he's great, but he can win a state title. This youngster gets second year. Come on now. There's no need for that. Jack Baker has earned the status he's at. He's a Hall of Famer. He's a legend, 700 wins. It takes a whole lot of wins, a whole lot of time to get that done.
Well, and to flip that around, some people are saying that Coach Plummer won this with Jack Baker's guys. I think both have to get credit for that. I think Plummer also taking them to the mountain. I think you can't discredit either guy for this accomplishment. You both have to look at Jack Baker won 700-plus games. Brendan Plummer has now won a state championship as a player and a coach, and is he even 30 years old yet? I mean, they both.
You don't look at if he is. Yeah, and he's going to win more. And this thing about you won it with somebody else's players. Okay, so what's the new coach supposed to do? Cut everybody and just go out and recruit at the high school and bring in a whole new squad? I
heard that from a fan the other day in Norfolk. I almost want to say, are you out of your mind? Like, what are you talking about?
High school's a little bit different. What he did was he took what Jack has done. He took those players. He continued working with. Like I said, he didn't throw out the playbook. He added some twists. He put his own flavor, personality in there too. And don't forget now, he's been on the bench with Jack a couple years now. Come on, he didn't come from Strawberry Forest. So Strawberry Forest.
Who came from Strawberry Forest?
Is that a name of a school somewhere?
I have no idea. But two pretty good guys.
Thomas, look that up. Yeah. Strawberry Forest High School. See where that's at.
See that. I've heard of strawberry shortcake. It's mighty tasty. Two good guys to learn from, and Darren Centerland, D. Nice, and Coach Baker there. Last 2 thoughts from me, and you can throw something in here before we go to break. Number one, the happiest person in the world that Maury won a state championship would be?
What you think, Matthew Hatfield?
Oh, you didn't do an impersonation on the air, did you?
My man Daryl. Daryl, the long-time Is he the mascot?
No, he's
number one fan.
He is to Maury what Keith is to Smithfield.
In his own, talking legendary status.
And we mean that in a
yeah,
nice
he's in his
way.
own because he's a Maury Hall
I
of
want to see
Famer.
him if he's at the pep rally or the parade where I want to see Darryl.
Oh, he's going to lead the parade.
Oh,
He's got to lead the parade.
Listen, the picture we put up after the region championship with him and the region trophy is made like all over the world on Facebook. It's too
Yeah,
bright.
because he wasn't at the state game.
Yeah, that's another story. We don't have time for that.
Okay, yeah, some other obligations.
I don't know. Number two, though, I can't give you a favorite in Class 5 right now. I'm not trying to be a cop out here. Menchville and Hampton are going to move down to Class 4 next year from our region. Across the state, I think Bird and Verona will be good. I'm not ready to put either one on one. I think Maury will be back in the mix. You never know if they get some kid up from JV or in this day and age, maybe a kid transfers. You just don't know. I think Green Run will be good. There's not a clear-cut fade. They have to replace Ashley James, which is a big loss graduation-wise. A lot of young kids beyond him. Your team brings back Justin Fowley, but you lost 7 seniors. So there's a lot of people that Class 5 to me looks more wide open next year than it's been in years past where we've said, all right, Henrico's the favorite, Potomac's the favorite, Bird's the favorite, Maury's the favorite, whoever it is. There's, to me, not a favorite going into the offseason.
Yeah, don't forget you got some 6s dropping down. You got some 4s moving up. Going to make it interesting.
And Potomac and Wakefield both go up to Class 6 next year.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. Again, it's from this point on, off season right now, all the way up to 1st of December when the games start next year. All right, who's improved? The moving around, the transferring, which has dominated our scene now over the last 10 years, where some key guys going to coming in or going out. It's going to be interesting. But you know what? The guys that have been there lately, Verina, Maury, it's easy to start with them because they do have enough talent coming back that I think you got to start with somebody. You can start with them and then dig a little deeper and try to find out who maybe wasn't quite there this year out on the fringes, who has a lot of returnees and has been improving. You can look at that team as a team maybe going to hoist that trophy next year.
Well, and the improvement Clarence Rupert made inside from last year pretty much as a sixth man to this season. If he does that again next year, I think he's the clear-cut favorite to be regional player of the year. Maybe gets a push from your man, Mr. Fatherly. We shall see. More to do here on High School Sports Talk presented by VirginiaPreps.com. We'll hear from Dwight Robinson of Lancetown. Interesting family situation there as a youngster in his household gets a championship. We'll go over the Eagles and much more right here on your home for sports. What is it?
ESPN Radio 94.1.